Hey guys, how are you?
Great. So
We
good to
made it.
finally be here.
Yes. So I would like to introduce a big part of the Skipydoo team who are in charge of marketing, media, storytelling, and. This is the team that really produces the magic. So Tatiana Nicholas, welcome. Finally, people can see, who really does the magic, no?
Such a pleasure to be here, an honor, and a great opportunity to share with the world all that goes on behind the scenes.
Thank you for
Yes.
having us.
No, no, thank you. I think it was only fair that everyone gets to see, who really the Skippy-Doo team is. So there is a kind of a face recognition. There's an affinity to that.
Fantastic, fantastic.
So first things first, can you tell us a little bit? Obviously, I know a lot of, who you are, but for everyone that doesn't, can you give us a little bit about yourselves in a non-interview fashion, discussion
Absolutely,
fashion?
absolutely. Just in a nutshell, basically, we're brother and sister, very close in age. We have about 16 months apart. So
Okay.
that was just a blessing, growing up. We had many shared interests. We are, people refer to us as Irish twins because we have a very small difference. So we were born in New York, and we grew up in Athens,
Which part of
uh,
New York?
Manhattan,
Manhattan.
Okay, so yeah, okay.
the center.
The center, yes.
It's quite rare. Not a lot of people are really born in New York.
No.
In general, we're city people through and through. In Athens, also Kolonai, you were in the center. In LA, we needed to be in a very central area to be able to walk
Most
around.
people actually are born, it's like LA, right? People are born somewhere else, either in the US or around the world, and then they move to New York, they move to LA, and they move to these cities.
Yeah.
Transplants, exactly.
Transplant. So go
We
ahead,
were
sorry. Yeah.
grew up in Athens. We moved here when we were about 5 and 6 years old.
Mhm.
Okay.
Our parents divorced, but that's another a unique aspect of our childhood and growing up. That they, although we're divorced, had such a beautiful relationship and friendship, and they raised us in such a beautiful manner.
Actually,
And
it
their work
sees, yeah, it shows that, kids who have parents who are divorced, you can kind of tell, you can see, but like with you guys, you could never, maybe that's the right way. Hopefully there's no divorces, but this is probably the right way of doing it if there was.
But you roll with the punches. Life
Yes.
is life,
Yeah.
but it's
Exactly.
all about love and respect and unity. So
Yeah, we
that's
never felt that any love was missing. They made great effort to really, have a great relationship and bond between them, and it's been beautiful for sure.
So we were born in New York, as we said. We grew up in Athens, where we ultimately we moved with our mom to be closer to our grandmother here,
Okay.
an Athenian.
And the idea was, what I mean, in Athens, it's very kid friendly. It's like you know,
A paradise,
it's
really.
literally paradise. Just being exposed to the culture, the ancient history. Obviously, we have access to the islands. You know what I mean? Growing up as a kid, honestly, it was a blessing and a dream
The
growing up here.
freedom, the safety. We had so many things that we would not have been able to have the luxury to have in New York. Our mom would let us, stay at the park for hours on end. You know what I mean? We had that outdoors flexibility.
It still kept that innocence, you know what I mean?
Right.
It was like a village kind of mentality, but obviously, you know what I mean, cosmopolitan as well. And, we went to international schools here, so we were also exposed to, you know what I mean, kids from all walks of life, you know what I mean, from all over the world as well. And that's been beautiful as well growing up. Now we have friends everywhere. So
Yeah, we
it's
were at the British Embassy School in
Okay.
Athens. So many of our fellow, let's say, students, classmates,
classmates.
were sons and daughters of diplomats. So a lot, would travel. We now ultimately have friends, all over the world, from Bahrain to India, and it was such a blessing meeting people from all over the world.
So that was, I mean, that seemed like a very fun upbringing. And then what moved you into, what you like to do now, which is media, marketing, producing, and all of that kind of stuff?
Well, ironically, we had our first taste of media when we were super, super young. Nicholas's first exposure on camera was at 4.5 weeks. He was in a commercial at 4.5 weeks old. I was
I
a
was a
toddler
I was a
modeler.
pine sol baby. in a commercial.
He was the baby that the dad had to supposedly hurry up and clean the house to be all ready for his arrival. And I was a toddler model. We would do a lot of stuff, growing up. But then in Greece, our mom was actually in media.
Okay.
She had a show. She was, doing interviews for CNN and Sports Illustrated. So that kind of whet our appetite to the whole media world.
And also, from our father's side, our father's grandmother, so our great grandmother, and also our grandmother, our father's mother, they were in Hollywood, back in the day. Our great grandmother, she was a silent movie star. So we would always hear stories, of the early days of, the golden age of Hollywood.
And
as
her
well,
daughter grew up on lot, was homeschooled at Warner Brothers. So we grew up hearing all of these stories. And then our uncle actually here in Greece, he's in television. So whenever he needed extras or people on set to make
background
coffee,
athletes or whatever, like, hey, do you guys want to, just be on set? So we were just around this, and we loved kind of, how it combines all of our interests, depending on the production, one day it could be, a sports related production. Oh, we love sports, this could be more, of a history, situation. So we're very interested in many different things, and we're pluralists. We didn't like ever being narrowed down to just one thing. So this kind of, it encompasses a lot of our interests and passions.
And it's ironic because a lot of our teachers, in the parent-teacher meetings, were saying, what do I do with them? They have so many interests. What field do we put them in? So ironically, we always say it now going back when we visit school, we're just like, if anyone has lots of interests, encourage media, because they can do everything under that veil.
I'm guessing marketing fits into that in a way.
Exactly. It's storytelling. You have to embody the essence of the brand. You have to embody the story behind it and use the power of media and marketing to tell that.
But we had no idea, growing up, we never said, okay, we want to do this. We want to go in this direction. I was very inclined in, sports and sports management. I was working at, Panathinaikos on the marketing team, one of the leading kind of European basketball teams here.
I studied politics, philosophy, thinking, I wanted to get into law or politics. I don't know. I was just so interested in those things. I did a lot of performing as well growing up. But one thing led to the next, and we found ourselves at the heat of the crisis, actually, in Greece, at the American College of Greece, where Nicholas was doing his army service.
There's the mandatory Greek military service. I was doing that parallel with being at the university as well.
And I found myself, because back to that limited not wanting to be boxed in. When I went to study in England, I wasn't too happy that I had to be so limited, So I came back to the American College of Greece that kind of enabled me to dabble in different subjects, from forensic psychology to dance to marketing. And that's actually where we began collaborating, because we found out about this competition.
There was this bulletin, and it said marketing competition by L'Oreal and Diesel. You know what I mean?
So we read about the specs, and it's basically a global marketing competition where every year L'Oreal teams up with a brand. In this case, it was Diesel. And
it's called the Brand Storm, L'Oreal Brand Storm competition. Nice. It's very interesting for people in general if they're listening. Great marketing competition globally.
And the objective, well, for us, was at least to come up with a product, which was a male grooming product that couldn't be a perfume, that had to be powered by Diesel for L'Oreal.
So you create this prototype, this project, working with a marketing team. You actually create the prototype. We create a 360 marketing pitch, and then you pitch it to the executives at L'Oreal.
Wow.
If you do, you get nominated, you go to Paris, and you pitch it to the World Conference.
So we ended up becoming finalists, and we're just like, oh my God, we could really do this. Half the battle is trying to communicate your ideas to someone. But if we have an uncanny communication and we kind of have so many similar exposures and backgrounds, we can really work like this.
Naturally, what we did is we were like, how can we communicate this message, for this product? So we ended up creating a little short movie of, a little campaign for it. We were like, okay, this is a nice medium, and we work well doing this. Maybe this is something. Maybe there's something here.
So that's what kind of set off our whole collaboration. And then hence the crisis in Greece, and we had this opportunity of going to America. We actually we ended up in LA without having ever visited before, even though our great-grandmother and grandmother used to live in LA. So we're just like, okay, we have an opportunity to be in LA. Let's figure it out. Nicholas loves sports. I love performance.
Maybe I can work for the Clippers or the Lakers on the marketing team or something. At the time, that was the idea.
So we found ourselves in LA, with this background of collaboration, and for whatever reason, we fell into the world of, we got the bug, as they call it, of storytelling and movie making, as we found ourselves in this gym that drew us to write about it, and
we met
the rest is history.
Exactly. we met this great producer one night, and, we didn't know who she was, and, we started telling her about, our interest in this story, this gym that we're going through and these interesting characters. And she was like, guys, you should write about this. And we're like, but we're not writers. And she was like, guys,
take some courses.
And she gave us a really nice kind of early mentorship, and take this writing course, for example, take this acting class so that you learn how to write for the actor. So getting our feet wet, and through the process of writing and collaborating, we really got the bug, and we loved our collaboration. So we're like, we can
so we ended up writing, and that kind of inspired other stories, and we ultimately created this vault of ideas that we're now, pitching and producing. And in the meantime, actually, we got approached by this Greek network, this Greek production, which really, really set our producing direction, set us into the producing direction. Because that's the thing, it's such a huge industry.
Yes.
And everyone's like, do I want to be an actor? Do I want to be a writer? So for whatever reason, because we wanted to do everything, we found that producing was ideal for us, because it encompassed the whole spectrum and the whole gamut of the initial inception.
Exactly. Starting off with a story, putting the pieces together. Who are the key members that you can bring in to, help facilitate this project? Then you go fundraising. Then, all of this, it encompasses everything, because we're not, just creatives. We also love the business side of this as well. So, hence we also created our production company, North and South Entertainment Group. And yeah.
But yes, side note. So basically we got approached by this Greek network, and they were, at a very early stage with this production. It was called World Party, which ultimately took Greece by storm. It was the #1 show in Greece. But basically they approached us because the model of this show, it was a travel show with two best friends traveling the world looking for YOLO, unique experiences.
Nice.
They approached us when they came to LA looking for a fixer, someone to show them around, a local.
That was the structure. They said, we don't want a conventional travel show that you just go and show this building. Oh, if this was established in 1840,
right.
They didn't want that. They wanted it more, really hooking up with a local to show the real authentic side of each culture.
So yeah, they approached us. Of course, we took the opportunity to say, oh my God, we want to show Greece what LA is all about. So we devised a storyline, and we're saying, okay, this is what Greece or the world may think LA is versus what it really is. So we ended up creating like a crazy long itinerary. They ended up staying for 2 weeks. And then from that point on, they just took us on board to start producing for the whole show. So that's really what just threw us into action. And
it was an incredible experience, because, we really got our feet wet in, live production. So, like we would send the guys to Hawaii, for example. They'd shoot the episodes, that we'd already be organizing with, Inuits in Alaska. They would go to Alaska, and the episode would be live while we're shooting the next one. So it was full on, hustle mode. It was an amazing experience.
But what's unique about this really, and how it ties in with Skipydoo as well, is that we, while trying to find our niche and figure out what, amongst all of our interests and all the stories we want to tell in the world, we really saw the power of uplifting content. We saw in a time where Greece was, in a crisis, and people were down and unemployed, and there was 50% unemployment between ages 25 and 18 to 25.
Yeah.
And this show, which was, lighthearted and uplifting, really allowed people to live vicariously through these characters,
right.
to forget about the problems, and the motto being YOLO, life is too short, let's just live, whether you don't have the biggest budget in the world, just find a way.
Experience is the new currency. It's not just material thing. Like, how can we, maximize the experience? And these are the things that we really hold dear to our heart. So, this really resonated with the youth and the younger demographic, and it really blew up also through social media, and just hearing the feedback and how it resonated. People are saying this really gives me hope, and that there is a better tomorrow, and that it also, we would interweave these storylines in each episode that really kind of,
captured the essence of each place.
It captures the essence of each place, but it's not just like, oh, look at these lucky guys that they get to experience this foreign, distant, exotic place. It's like, it also makes you appreciate home as well, because you're like, okay, these are a beautiful experience, but also, there's something dear about, Greece and home as well that we should not neglect as well, even during the most difficult times.
Yeah,
Awesome.
finding stories. We had, for example, John Peck was an 83-year-old surfer, who's talking about, age is in the mind.
It's
you
a
know what I mean? It's a
construct.
construct. We were getting a flood of people writing to us saying, guys, thank you for, giving me hope and giving me some perspective. So, we just love the power of media. We understand the power of storytelling and how in need people are really for that positive, uplifting content.
Especially with all of the negativity that's going on in the world, you need that positive, the positive news. You know what I mean? It's a small piece of the internet, but we're hoping to share, more of this.
Because the truth is that we know that negative stories sell. You know what I mean? That's clickbait, and people kind of gravitate
primarily,
to negativity.
They're like, oh no, what is this? You know what I mean? That's the easy
but they
reaction.
kind of love it too, which is kind of weird. So how do we break that spell? How do we make it cool to be fun and uplifting?
And that's also why we were so intrigued by the initial, concept of yours, of Skipydoo, and focusing on the family, and children, and the bond between, parents and children, and encouraging people to really, maybe step away a little bit from the, social media and all of this, you know what I mean? Really organic play with the kids. It was a brilliant and exciting idea that really inspired us to really, come on board. And
so before we go on to the next topic, for people who obviously you've been in the entertainment business for a long time, and there is, as you said, there's many kind of players in the entertainment, right? There's the camera work, there's the creative, there's the business side, which is no different than any kind of business that there is. It's just different. Yep, it's just different. What if you were going to touch on kind of, if someone wanted to go into the business, or someone wanted to learn from a young age as kids or as adults, what makes a good story?
That's the big question.
The atu, right? That's the atu.
As we say, exactly. Well, it has to be relatable. It has to be universal. Humans, it doesn't matter if you're different in color and age, and it doesn't matter. We're human in the end of the day. So there's certain elements that transcend these little differences.
Universal humanistic stories that exactly you can with the same exact story, can you change the nation or the language to this? Can you change the the sport, if it's a sport movie, and will it still strike a chord? So there is that universifiability there that we always look for in a good story.
How is it that a young girl at the age of 12 can be moved and relate to the main character in Cinderella Man, the boxer who was fighting to feed his family? You know what I mean? There's certain stories that transcend those differences, that it doesn't matter exactly where you're coming from, that you see the magic and it moves you.
Yeah, it has to access a truth, a real truth, and it doesn't matter in what genre it is,
That's the word.
You feel it when it strikes a chord, and it's an authentic, true moment.
You can't fake.
No.
Everyone can try and make something appealing or promote it like the best story, but if it doesn't resonate truth,
you can't manufacture truth.
You can't.
And this could be fantasy, or could be real, right? This in both realms, it's a fact.
Absolutely.
It can be new media. It could be what we're doing with Skipydoo, accessing the truth, accessing those real emotions that the kids, when they're actually having fun. You can't fake that. You capture that on camera, and it makes your heart skip a beat when you watch it.
And the greatest actors, they access a truth in a contrived moment, like obviously it's a scenario, it's a scene, it's a set, there's action, lights, camera, action, but they access a truth within them to bring themselves to that moment.
Exactly.
Even if it's in a Hollywood picture.
When people talk about acting, it's really you. You're not faking that it's you. You have to imagine how you would react under an imaginary situation. So don't fake your emotions. Don't act out your emotions. Those are real emotions.
Right.
Under fake situations, let's say.
So we talked about the story, which is there's science behind what makes a good story. But there was a research that was made about negativity, which is where you say controversy or negativity sells, right? And then there was, in the same research, there was something about positivity. And from what I remember, if my memory serves me correctly, is that negativity kind of stays with the human more. Like you remember it more, you kind of gravitate towards it more. But now studies are saying that positivity is actually taking over, and people want to remember kind of more positive. It gives the whole body, the mentality, everything. It just gives it a better nourishment, right? Everything works better with positivity. So I hope the trend is changing, but clickbaits are there, headlines are there. The more controversial, the more negative it is. Everyone wants to kind of jump on that, and even if the story has nothing to do with the headline, it's still, that's what gets you.
Exactly. It's the shock factor that we're just like, what is this? Because naturally, you know what I mean, we're interested in the negative because we're like, how can I learn about this to prohibit this? Or
it's survival.
Or
it's
exactly,
ingrained
it's
in
our
us.
survival. It's like if something bad happens to me, I'm going to remember that deeply so that it doesn't happen again. But now that, kind of, we hear all of this about mental health issues and problems, and this is huge, especially in, the younger generations with the, being exposed to social media at a young age, people are thirsty and thirsting and desire positive now, because that bit of joy, what I mean, it's little now, what I mean. So people are trying to really gravitate to that, and hopefully there's.
It's like that. It's like that, Nicholas, the Inside Out cartoon from Disney, if you've seen it, right? And there's not yet. You haven't seen it.
No.
You should see it. Yes, you should. So basically, it's like these four kind of emotions in a human that these cartoon characters control in this girl. So there's joy, sadness, fear, and anger. And then when joy overrides sadness and all the other emotions, the girl is confused and she kind of doesn't know what to do. So too much joy isn't, obviously you can't just live in, la la land. You can't also be completely negative to guard yourself against everything. I think a balance of, these four emotions is key of that, right? Wouldn't you say, in a dose of them?
That's the thing. I think studies show that we experience like tens of thousands of negative emotions a day, and it's a matter of how we can filter through those.
Yes.
So maybe it is true that negative emotions override the time span of how much a positive emotion can live. So that's why we need them so much.
Yes.
But if you don't have that reference, if you don't have that negative, you don't appreciate the positive as much. So, just to go back to your original question of what makes a good story,
yes,
top of mind is, ironically, we're talking about the oldest. Well, you can argue that because you're from the Arab world, but the oldest storytellers, really, like in Greek mythology, you see mythology stand the test of time. Why does mythology stand the test of time? Because it captures those universal laws of behavior of humanity, which remain today. So right. What was one of the most famous stories? It was the Pandora's Box story.
Yeah.
And in that story, there are all those elements. There's, joy and temptation. There's greed. There's curiosity.
All of the evils and crazy things in this one box, but at the bottom
is hope.
Yes.
So above all, we have to keep that hope alive. We have to use hope to focus on the things that, can help us thrive and survive, so it's ironic that you talk about that new Disney movie. I think it's fascinating because we really have to be aware of what's going on inside us and realize what to feed, what to focus on, and all of it exists.
And I think the last thing about story is, I think there was a research done about when you do a movie, you kind of test it, right? And then you get a rating before you go live. And, when a story is there and then there's a hero, there's always a hero and whatever. But when the hero doesn't kind of end up winning or they don't end up getting married or together or something like that, the viewers are actually dissatisfied and they don't want to, and obviously life is not like that, but going to a movie, you want, like, the human is just going there to say, I want this story to end, because life doesn't usually end where you want, but as long as if you work for it and you really go after it, most of the time it does. But during this 90 minutes or whatever it is, you want to, as a human, you just like, come on, just make it happen so I can go.
And naturally, we're cheering for the good, for the hero to win. You know what I mean?
For the, for the happy ending. That's what we're saying. For the happy ending. Everyone's happy ending. So now we talked about story. You guys love marketing. You love media because it encompasses a lot of, action and, enthusiasm and, all this kind of thrill. And you kind of merged between Greece and Los Angeles, right? How do you see differences, like in the industry between two countries? Because I want to touch on culture. Yes. Now, right? Does culture play a part in the work and in these industries?
Absolutely. There's a difference in mentality and approach. That's with everything really. Greece is exempt of the world in a certain way. They go by their own, drum basically. But the truth is that you can't deny that Hollywood is the mecca of entertainment. You know what I mean? The powerhouses, the studios, the minds that all gravitate to that place.
And with that, also, America and Hollywood, has the infrastructure to also, support, new talent and create that kind of arena where people can grow and, excel in the field.
The backing, it's on we call it a different stratosphere to a degree. But that doesn't mean that there's not exceptional talent in Greece. And as we said, storytelling is ingrained in the culture. This is who we are. This is what we do. This is, we stay up talking until 3 a.m., with wine under the moon, and the stars. That's what we love. We philosophize. But there is room and space for building Greece, building the platform in Greece. But great developments have actually occurred now with KAUFMAN, for example.
Absolutely. There's this huge kind of push, this governmental push to kind of incentivize foreign crews to come to Greece because we have such a kind of diverse landscape. We have mountains, we have sea. Like most people, when they hear about Greece, they think of, the islands or Mykonos or whatever it is. We also have, beautiful, mountains. We also have, beautiful castles and, obviously ruins that are perfect for many types of productions, as well.
It's just underutilized. So there's a great opportunity to see other images, that you don't really, register. When you see Paris, when you see Rome, when you see Japan, you know immediately where that is. But there's certain areas of Athens or Greece that you would never really identify, or the public wouldn't.
And also there's a unique light as well. You know what I mean? That cinematically, it's a very beautiful thing as well. So exactly. So governmentally, like, they're offering these kind of 30% cash rebates and these tax reliefs to incentivize, for example, Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Like, why not shoot, a castle scene, in Greece. Mycenae, for example.
We just need to create that incentive to bring them to Greece because, with the crisis as well, they hear Greece and they're like, oh my God, they think immediately it's, a disaster. And, it's a shame really because there's great opportunity here. And
a lot of talent. It's incredible. And it's also not by chance that a lot of very successful, Hollywood people, they're actually Greek. Like, the CEO/founder of Netflix, Ted Sarandos, he's a Greek. You know what I mean? There's Jim Yiannopoulos. He was the president of Paramount. Now he's at Fox, correct?
He was at Fox. Now he's at Paramount.
No. So,
they're everywhere.
They're everywhere, exactly. So, yeah, it's kind of been great.
Yeah, back in the day, one of the presidents of Fox was Greek as well. Look, yeah, there's a lot to be done.
It's growing, right? It is growing, and I think also media and especially like in Saudi and the Middle East, it is growing as well. I think there was the first movie now on Netflix that was a Saudi movie. So I think it is. I think this industry in this part of the world is growing, and I'm happy to see it. Because I think there is a lot of talent everywhere in the world, even outside of Hollywood. I think the world needs different kind of cultures, different kind of backgrounds, different kind of stories than the one we're used to. The variety is needed.
People are talking about so much about representation and diverse content. It's like ultimately what has to happen is we have to create our own. Like if we want to show Greek culture through media, it's like, okay, we should make Greek-centric, films, about.
And I think the same with any country, right? Like now the distribution is there. The
It's because,
distribution
like,
is there.
why do they show us in that light? Why did they get that story wrong?
Yes.
It's on us.
And
Let's
that goes
do
the
it.
same exactly for Saudi. If there's some, beautiful story that, you grew up listening to that you feel, would,
Tell a nice story. Why not? Why
Exactly.
not?
Just to follow up about, how it is versus where it's going, you know what I mean? Let's not forget now with the COVID situation and with new media, the power of new media and the accessibility of cameras. I mean, we joke all the time. We say if Hitchcock had an iPhone, he'd be doing backflips. You know what I mean? The picture that he'd be able to get is just insane.
Amazing.
So the average person has such access to technology.
It's access, yeah.
Wonders and share it digitally.
Exactly. And going back to Skipydoo, initially when we had first started collaborating, we started coming to your place and filming and doing all that. And then COVID hit. And look how incredibly, we all pivoted. You're shooting this great content.
So for those like who are gonna watch this and the fans, the best 3 or 4 videos that were filmed, if you go back onto our Instagram page, the first 4, Nicholas and Tatiana did the filming. So those are the 2 better ones. Then the rest, if you see a drop in quality, that's on us.
Getting better. It's only getting better.
Getting better.
Created a template.
We did. We worked through it.
Let's say it's more organic now.
It's more organic. It's more organic. That's the nice word.
Yeah, full respect on your part. You know what I mean? Like you hadn't, first of all, people say the most difficult type of filming is filming children. You know what I mean?
Tell me, but it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Of course, it's a pleasure, and you've been able to create, that format and to replicate this on a consistent basis. You know what I mean? Without the pre-experience. So we tip our hat. Every time that we receive the content to edit and do all this.
And we did one with Layla. So we had a guest on Skipydoo. So that worked out well.
You're making it more accessible for others to replicate. It's not this overly polished thing that is intimidating, and it can maybe encourage other parents to do this.
Yeah, we definitely, this is what we're all about, right? So the last 2 things that we want to discuss before, you guys can go and have, for us, it's shawarma. For you, it's souvlaki. So before I go have my shawarma, you guys go have your souvlaki.
Love shawarma.
I love souvlaki, so it's it's shared love. We work together a lot. We speak on a if not a weekly basis, but on a weekly basis. You have a chance as the marketing media team, the storytellers, right? What would you want to say to everyone watching? What is the message we try to kind of communicate to Skipydoo, right? We don't really have this platform to really speak. Now we do now. What is it that you want to say? How it's grown from when we started. How do you see this? Like, what do you want to say, really?
Okay, just to backtrack a little bit, what we had originally fell in love with, the original inception of the idea, was what you told us. The big problem here was the fact that you said, in my free time, in my wife's free time, in our kids' free times, everyone's on their phones. So, how it's just not working. I need to find a way to break this cycle. I need to get these kids and my kids off the phones and find a meaningful way to engage as a family, because life is short and days are passing. And if at every given moment we have free time, we look on our phones, we're just wasting time.
And something that really resonated that you and Heba had mentioned early on is, it doesn't matter, it's not about the material gifts, to your children that you see kind of necessarily sparks their interest or their eye. It's when you give them that attention, when you give them that real, intimacy,
when they feel seen.
When they feel seen, exactly. And how you were encouraging them to, the incentives of, who's going to go into the shower first, like who's going to win this challenge. They're fully present and in the moment and, at your disposal, So we really, accessing that truth and really finding a way to show that externally, that it can work for other parents as well. There's magic there.
And our message, let's say, to the world is really, get off your phones. Let's use technology to inspire us to get off our phones, engage with one another, and have real meaningful moments. and thrive together, and allow the kids to develop, and allow perhaps through games to learn about different cultures and meet friends around the world, to just thrive and grow and make the world a better place. And that's our slogan. We say,
That's our slogan.
making the world a better place one game at a time. Through play, let's create peace, let's create unity, let's bridge culture, and let's have fun.
And specifically in this collaboration, you know what I mean? Like we like, you know, working with people that, you know, we admire as well, you know what I mean? We have a good chemistry with. And, you know, you and Heba, you know, honestly from our heart, you know, you guys are really about this. This isn't some manufactured, you know, whatever ploy,
it's
you know,
a way of life.
yeah, you guys genuinely have the urge to have greater and deeper connections with your kids. And, you know, this really comes out, and you know, this really resonated with us, and this really encouraged us to, you know, go all in as well.
And it's a noble pursuit that, you know, it may, you saw it works, it's, you know, works at your home, but how can others benefit from this as well? And then how can, by encouraging others to play these games, can we benefit people who are underprivileged? You know, so it's like an amazing domino effect of good, you know, starting from a place of good, but really making the world a better place through play, you know, really.
And the honesty, that, you know what I mean, the parents are, you know, we're not parents yet, you know, but you were so honest. You know,
we don't know. So,
you know, you were so honest in telling us that, you know, and this is something that most people don't, you know, admit, is that, you know, they feel the guilt that, you know, life is passing by, you know what I mean? Every parent is, you know, they're hustling, you know, they're working hard, and, you know, the kids are growing up, and these are moments you can't get back. So, you know what I mean? Taking the time to really spend more time with your kids. And also, you know, for you, you know, one day you're going to watch these videos, you know, with your kids, and you're going to really remember these moments as well. And I think that's a beautiful
thing. So if Skipydoo can offer parents a little nudge, or give them a little reminder, or break a smile, you know, we need to incentivize parents to get off that couch, to take 5 minutes out of their day, 15 minutes, make that effort to give such a great gift to their kids and themselves, ultimately.
And give them those creative solutions to say, you know, because they're so busy, they may not be able to think of, oh, what's a creative way that I can engage? But, you know, we're kind of serving that. That's the value, you know what I mean? These are tried and tested things that work with your kids. And if they work with your kids, you know, this, you know,
most likely.
Just going back to what you said about the fact that we're not parents yet, and hopefully one day soon, you know, this, I mean, we consider ourselves like big kids, you know, like big babies. We've, you know, played unbelievable amounts of games together. You know, we have this
sports,
you know,
yes, yeah,
a treasure trove of ideas to share. But, you know, we feel the blessing to be able to offer the younger generation some games and ideas that they perhaps don't know,
right.
Being that they're so technology driven.
They grew up in this digital era that they're missing basic things that, you know, our parents and grandparents were like, oh, this is obvious, but, you know, it doesn't trickle down.
And not to mention falling in love with your kids, and also, you know, getting excited one day to have our own, you know.
Hopefully, inshallah. So one thing that we've discussed this, and we as a parent, you know, I don't, you know, I'm not the and I always say this, you know, no one is kind of the model parent. You know, every you know, I speak up first, and, you know, I've made mistakes as parents, and, you know, all you do is you just try to kind of learn and do the best you can. So through Skipydoo, we never fault someone. We just want to give them, you know, the right solutions and the right tools. And we discussed that every parent's life or every family is different. You know, the mechanics, how busy you are, how not, and there's no right or wrong. It's just, you know, situation. As that, we also, you know, we would love the parents to play with the kids through our games, right? That's kind of, you know, the real fun. But at the same token, if there is no time, if it's too much, if it's so forth, obviously kids can play alone and kind of figure it out. And it's kind of what we're saying, we want to be categorized as the good content in a way, right? Using technology for the good of it, right? And share it with kids, other kids, cousins, and play together. And I think that's what yes, an oasis, and you can really take it whichever way you want. You know, kids playing, you playing with them, and there's no right and wrong. It's just, you know, you can use it in any way you want. Would you agree with that kind of statement?
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
It's a resource that can be for parents with the kids and for the kids alone, to give these creative ideas, to be able to, get creative, get away from, just sitting down playing video games, and really, connect with organic play,
Without a doubt.
So,
Said.
so the last question, right before you go is have the souvlaki, is when we first discussed and we were starting working on this and so forth, I felt a connection like I saw in you, that you remembered moments like these with your parents or with your dad. Can you share a bit about that? And then how did playing with your parents or dad really help you in your journey as an adult, in your quest?
So first of all, the father figure to us is hero.
The rock star, the
rock star hero,
super dad,
the guy that will make it happen. Will make it work. Exactly, superhero dad. My dad's Batman. That's how we grew up. And keeping that in mind, our mom as well, just put so much creativity in us, and kind of fantasy in a sense,
and activities.
Exactly.
She would not let us hold back. She wanted us to do everything: horseback riding, taekwondo, rollerblading, just do it all.
That was our parents' motto, just expose them to everything. And besides game, sports, and all this, also cultures, they were all about travel. Guys, you have to see the world so that you understand
travel is
different
the best
cultures. The greatest education. So at a very young age, we were exposed to all these things, and it's the greatest blessing. And we had a similar kind of upbringing, that you were also around international people. You were traveling. You were also exposed to many things. And I feel that connection between us, really resonated early on.
So that's playtime was the treat. Playtime was the ultimate. You know what I mean? As you've described as well, when you play with your dad, when you're playing with your kids, it's as though time stops, time slows down. So, also the fact that our father, lived in New York while we were living in Greece, that playtime was sacred. It was all about getting in all of those tickles, getting in all of that play, together.
Yeah, every moment was very, exactly, we're very present. It meant everything, for sure.
And it lasted, you know what I mean? It continues on, even though you're not necessarily physically together. Just the memories, the fun, the laughter.
And you get basted with love, you know what I mean? When your parents are showing you interest, and you know what I mean, you're engaging with them like that. And exactly, it's a very fulfilling thing, and it was just a beautiful childhood.
And play is a state of mind, you know what I mean? Ironically, our parents, the reason why one can argue they got divorced is, not a lack of love or anything. It's just they were very, very young when they got married. So we consider them to be big kids, you know what I mean? So ironically, we've all grown up to be, buddies, you know what I mean? We the way we approach business together, the way we collaborate, the way we travel, we're just kids exploring the world and navigating life.
And it doesn't stop. Exactly, it doesn't stop. Even now.
So the last thing is, obviously, before you go, and we love chatting with you. We miss seeing you, so it's been way too long. Yeah, way too long. But as you grow, you said you still want to play, and play could be anything: some reading, some acting, some sports, whatever. Now you're huge on martial arts, right? So before you go, if you had to choose, right, or if someone is new getting into martial arts, which direction would you say is the most fun that you have while doing it? Like, which kind of martial art?
Our journey, at a very young age, we started off with Taekwondo, which, it's a very traditional martial art. It's very disciplined, and you know what I mean. So,
and the clothing was so appealing.
The clothing was cool.
Too, the uniform.
Honestly, at the time, we didn't appreciate it as much. You know what I mean? Like, I was more kind of, about football, basketball, all these stuff, because I just didn't understand it was very disciplinarian, which is good, and I think it's very important. And thinking, in retrospect now, it definitely gave us, extra discipline. But what we fell in love with, because we circled back with martial arts a little bit later, Muay Thai is what we fell in love with. Thai boxing.
We call it the punk rock of martial arts, just because it's just so wild. There's punching, there are elbows.
It's so wild, but you know, if I could suggest for a younger child, you know what I mean, I would say, you know, why not, you know, a traditional martial art, just to get the foundation of the idea of discipline and kind of you know, the cerebralness
and the imagination, guys. I mean, your
karate
imagination
kids
runs wild at the thought of karate in a far, you know, distant land, and, you know, ancient practices, you know, and philosophies. I think it's really cool.
But certainly pure boxing is a beautiful, beautiful art for, you know, kids, because besides the self-defense aspects that, you know what I mean, is beneficial.
It's just physically.
It's also, you know, when you get past the initial kind of like uncomfortability of, you know, certain movements and stuff like this, you start really working your mind with these combinations and the intricacies. It's been an incredible.
Boxing is definitely a great place to start for anyone, in the sense that it's very easy to get into, so you immediately start seeing the results.
Because it's just the hands initially.
It's not so cerebral. It's not remembering all these crazy choreographies, which was a little off-putting to us as well.
Yeah, that's what we didn't like about Taekwondo, that you had to remember certain patterns to get these belts, and we're just like, you know, we wanted to just, you know what I mean, throw punches and just, you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's not really about the award system for us.
I think that's why Muay Thai is so, like, I didn't do it much. I do a little bit more boxing, but you just want to get out there and kind of punch the bag, and you just want to get into this and do combinations, and, you know, not go through kind of the belt system, so to speak, right?
Exactly.
So if someone was going to LA and, you know, wanted to get into Muay Thai, where would they go?
Oh my God, there's only one master of Muay Thai in Los Angeles. That's Chris Riley. He is the first Westerner to have won the King's Birthday Championship in Thailand, which is unheard of. The first Westerner.
In front of like 100,000 people. Unbelievable. And he brought Muay Thai to Los Angeles, and, you know, he's trained, you know, from the greatest, you know, MMA fighters, you know, because obviously MMA fighters, it's mixed martial arts, but, you know, they train in each discipline separately with a specialist. So he was doing Rampage Jackson, you know, the early days of the UFC, Randy Couture, all these legends, you know what I mean? This is him.
So he's in where? Is he in downtown Los Angeles?
Well, he's moved around. We were actually training at this crazy gym in East Los Angeles.
Oh my God.
Former factory gym. That's actually what really inspired us to begin writing, really, because of what was going on in there.
But yeah, Chris Riley of Legends MMA, he is the truest legend, and also his protege, Eddie Jackson, who, you know, we started training with as well. He's an incredible...
Who has a son who he trains and sometimes would join our training, which is amazing, and we've seen his growth.
So when I get healthy, because I pulled my calf muscle, if you guys know, but for the ones who don't, I pulled my calf muscle. But, you know, hopefully that gets better. Next time I see you in LA, we are definitely going
for training.
Yeah. Even at the beach, we should take some pads with the kids and we'll do some sessions for sure.
We'll definitely do it.
It doesn't stop.
No, anywhere. I'm guessing even during quarantine, you know, you can always, you know, throw some moves, do some drills at home.
In our apartment. You gotta do it. You gotta find a way to do it.
Gotta do it. Guys, always is a pleasure speaking with you and interacting and seeing you. So it was, thank you for coming on. And, you know, I hope everyone now gets to see really, you know, the whole team behind, you know, hopefully what it is, magic, that I hope we are creating magic, or we hope we are creating something that everyone is benefiting in some way.
This has been a true honor and pleasure, you know, just this whole collaboration, and it's been such an incredible journey, and there's so much ahead as well.
Yeah, there's so much. I think there is a lot ahead.
Truly, such an honor, such a pleasure, and let the games begin.
Let the games begin.
Let's Skipydoo this.
Thank you, guys.
All I love. Bye-bye.